welcome everybody back to possibly the DomCast, because I haven't decided if I'm gonna make this an actual DomCast episode, which is for the podcast, or if I'm just gonna do it as an interview, because I plan on bringing a couple of people on. And today we got a very special guest, your boy Ft.Bsolz. Say what's good.
What's good, everybody? The best Celtics fan in the land. Yeah, I'm taking shots out the gate, bro.
Straight fired. Hey, that's something we're gonna talk about, so that's good. That'll happen pretty naturally. But yeah, shout out to Ft.Bsolz. Shout out to Keep It a Buck podcast. I was on yours back in, man, that time goes quick, bro. We in February. When did we do that? That was like October.
Like 3-4 months ago, bro.
Jesus, yeah, that was quick, and I meant to get you on way quicker than this, but we here. This is long overdue. Two people that have been on NBA YouTube probably around the same amount of years, I would say. I think you and Legend popped up around the same time I did. But yeah, we're definitely gonna get to the YouTube part. I guess I'm gonna start by asking you how you got into basketball, because everybody I bring on, you know, I'm just always interested in people's basketball origin stories, because I have mine. Storyteller had a hilarious one last week. I don't know if yours is gonna be, you know, your uncle took you out of church to go see the Warriors play, because I was fire. I don't think anybody can match that yet, but let's hear yours. Maybe it'll match it. Maybe I'll be wrong.
So it was around like 2009. That was the first time I was introduced to basketball. So I wasn't like one of those dudes that knew about basketball when I was like 3 years old. I was back in the Philippines, and like after school, I just saw like a bunch of like 5th graders or whatever playing basketball in like the school basketball court. And mind you, this is a private Catholic school, so everyone had like uniforms with slacks and fucking dressing shoes and shit. Right. I get on, like all the 5th graders go, it's just the 3rd graders, and like I don't know, it was really just like the first time I ever played basketball. Didn't really get into it, but then a couple months later moved to America, and again this is 2010, and this was the Celtics year, Celtics Lakers.
Yeah.
And when I moved with my parents, we were in Massachusetts, so it was just the perfect timing. You know what I'm saying? I moved to America, into Massachusetts. Celtics are rolling, Lakers, Kobe. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got into basketball. It was a combination of that, moving to Boston, or not Boston, but Massachusetts at the right time. And then this was when 2K11 was out, and I was getting into YouTube, Chris Move. It was a blend of a lot of things. I'm not gonna lie, bro. It wasn't just like one moment.
Right. No, yeah, you came in at a fire time. This is LeBron just about to leave, basically. So the Heat hadn't even started yet. This is Kobe, still at the top of his powers, pretty much, at the end of him, really. But yeah, Celtics Lakers finals. So okay, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, you kind of defaulted to the Celtics because you moved there and they were somewhat on top at the time. I mean, at least in the Eastern Conference.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, because we lost it. So that's interesting. I hadn't. How old were you then? Was that in 2009?
9.
9. Okay.
9.
Yeah. So you were even younger than when I started. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty dope. So you don't feel the same pain then of the finals loss, because when Celtics lost to the Lakers, that was just kind of your introduction.
Yeah, that was just my introduction. But like I remember during that playoff run, my dad would just be like, "Man, you don't even know about the 2008 Celtics when the Big Three came together." I was like, "Okay, let me read up into it." And then I got into the history of at least the past couple of years. And then I learned about the Celtics-Lakers rivalry, and then that just became like the biggest rabbit hole I've ever gotten into.
Oh, absolutely.
And now here I am. Like I know more shit about like the 1970s than a 20-year-old should ever. Like about the NBA, you know what I'm saying?
Facts.
But yeah, that's how that started. I was honestly more in love with the Eastern Conference playoffs that year than the finals, because I remember. Like I was hearing all the stories about LeBron and shit, because LeBron's just that big. But then we get into the second round and it's the Celtics versus there's like a really hyped up dude, and then to see Rondo doing what he did, bro.
Facts.
The triple doubles, the passes, and this was before like 2017 when triple doubles essentially became normalized. I'm like, yo, this dude has 10 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds.
Yeah,
like,
man.
And it was just crazy, bro. I remember that one play he had. It was a fast break. LeBron was coming right behind him, He faked him up, went behind the back to Tony Allen, bro.
Absolutely.
Bro, that shit got me off my seat.
That's when I knew that series was over. I believe that was the elimination game, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was game 6. And it was
I don't remember the exact same game, but it was just like those moments where I was like, all right, basketball, this shit's cool. This shit's cool.
Yeah. Now you came in at a fire time. So that's interesting. You said your dad was talking about the '08 Celtics, but you really got into basketball from the school you were at. So your dad had already been a fan and you hadn't picked it up from him, basically, of basketball?
Well, he's just like he works for telecom, like engineering, in Massachusetts. So he just, he's an immigrant himself. He's trying to learn more about the culture. And I guess like when I moved here, that was just like, the talk in town, like KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. And honestly, they started off as a baseball fan. Like my dad and my mom, they were fans of the Red Sox. And then I came and we just started watching basketball every day. So if anything, I converted my dad to a basketball fan as well.
Right.
Okay. But yeah.
That makes sense. So yeah, when people get into basketball, it's super natural for people to pick up a favorite player. Who did you pick up around that time then? When you come in, it's like 2009, 2010, Kobe, Bron are at the top of the league, or did you pick up a favorite player, or was it just Boston?
Honestly, yeah, it was mostly the Boston thing. But when I first came into the league, Jesus Christ, when I first started watching basketball, it was Ray Allen. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Oh, okay.
Like how prolific of a shooter he was, and just like, I don't know, just the way he moved off ball was like so cool to me. Like how fast he did a catch and shoot, and like how contested those shots were. That shit was cool as fuck to me. But then I got more into Rondo and how he took over a game without scoring. So like he was really the first person that really showed me, I'm like, oh, okay, you don't have to just be a pure scorer to contribute to a game. And then obviously with Kobe being at the top of his game, going on YouTube, learning more about Kobe, how motivational he is, his work ethic, just the footwork, how complicated his footwork was. Yeah. I just fell in love with that side of things as well. So when I say like I'm a Celtics and a Kobe/Lakers fan, it's not like me trying to be political. It's just because I came into the game 2010 and those two were, at the top of their game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. People always found that weird how I could be a Celtics fan and back then there'd always be, I guess, defending Kobe, protecting Kobe, whatever they called it, or being a fan of, and I'm like, even though he played for the Lakers, I'm like, whatever, bro. This is the stuff I was trying in the front yard. I'm sure you probably were too.
Yeah.
As far as Kobe, at some point we all went through the Kobe phase and probably didn't get that close. But so you come in around the Big Three era, and you come in as it was ending, really, because 2010 we lose, and even though we had some bright moments, it kind of goes nothing but downhill from there. How did you stay engaged? Because for me, I came in around like '08 or whatever, so I went through that whole thing, and then by the time they started to suck again, I was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm here now, so this is my squad. How did you stay engaged with Boston when we sent everybody away? Hell, that happened. Ray Allen left, and we sent Paul Pierce and KG. Next thing you know, we're looking at Chris Humphries and Marshawn Brooks in a press conference. So how did you stay engaged for those years where it looked like this might be a while?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. After 2010, that was when LeBron went to Miami. And me being 10 years old, not knowing much, I was really on that like, yo, fuck Miami type shit.
Same.
Me and my best friend were like, yo, LeBron's a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were on that wave.
Facts.
So that just fueled my love for the Celtics as well. I'm like, yo, I'm Celtics ride or die. The 2011 playoffs happened. Fucking D Wade pushes Rondo down, breaks his elbow. That pissed me off. And then he came back, pretty much played the rest of the game one-handed. And again, that was like another fuel to the fire type of moment for me.
Yeah, that was iconic.
Yeah. So after that, the finals happened, LeBron chokes, and again, it's just like, yo, let's go. I'm saying, fuck the Heat. I told y'all, man, Big Three, the OG Big Three all the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that whole thing was interesting to me. 2012 comes around, Celtics come back, they push. They had that great series against the Heat. And I swear to God, after Paul Pierce hit that 3 in Game 3, bro, I was like,
oh
yeah, we back.
I'm still hurt as you say it. Like I'm still hurt because I remember that. I don't know if you remember because you were so young. I don't know if you remember the vibes of that game, but it was such a back and forth affair. It didn't feel like the Celtics were supposed to win. That was game 5, and it did not feel like we were supposed to win that game. And so Pierce hits that, bro. I'm still hurt, bro. I was on cloud 9 back then. I'm still hurt because I thought we were back after that. I thought we caught a break. But yeah, you can continue. So you're basically saying this is what, a bunch of moments just kind of fueled your fire to, when it was gone, you were just kind of there like I was, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So that whole Miami Heat Celtics rivalry fueled everything. And then KG, Paul Pierce gets traded to the Nets. And this was honestly the time period. Well, it was honestly, was it 2012, 13, 14? That was more so when I brought in my horizons because I'm like, all right, man, the Celtics ain't it right now. So let me check out what the Thunder are doing. You know what I'm saying? Let me check out what the Spurs are doing. Let me read up on the history of the game more. And then 2015 happened, and that's when I got more into just editing in general. And then I think it was around 2015, 2016 where I felt comfortable with having my own opinions on the game, and I just put them on YouTube, and the rest is history.
I missed a softball earlier when you were mentioning Ray Allen being your favorite player and you being so hot on the Celtics at the time. So what was it like for you, and I guess what is it still like when he left after Game 7 and went to Miami?
Bro,
yeah.
Dom, I'm not gonna lie. Can I cuss on this show? Is this a cuss-friendly show?
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
All right, yeah. So when Ray got traded again, it was fuck Ray Allen. I was on that wave. I remember the first game when Ray went to the bench, tried to dap up KG, and KG just like shunned him. And I was like, yeah, that's what you get, Ray. That's what you get, Ray. And then I was like, yeah, he's never gonna win with the Heat. You know what I'm saying? Like 2012 was just okay. They got their one. It's not gonna happen again. And then he does what he did in 2013. I'm like, man.
Yeah, he found his spot there, man. So, did you continue to care like that after all these years? Because this is something that's lived on. The only Celtic, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only Celtic that I've seen that really fucks with Ray Allen to this day is Paul Pierce, so that has tried to like reconcile that. Everyone else, I haven't seen. I haven't seen Rondo, KG. I think they still feel some type of way. But do you feel any way about that after all these years have passed? Do you rate Ray Allen differently in your mind, or is it just kind of like a thing that happened and it is what it is?
I think it's just I'm over it, honestly. Like I just feel like at the time, again, I was like 12.
Yeah.
And now I'm 20, so I know, you know what I'm saying, what Ray Allen had to do at that time, the money aspect of things, just knowing more context of the situation. It's not as bad as it seems, especially now with how players just move around. Like it's a normal thing now. Back then, again, I was young. This whole like moving around the league thing, it wasn't like as normalized as it is right now. But now that it is normalized, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. The same way LeBron's move to Miami isn't looked down upon now because of the off seasons we've had the past couple of years. Like just in 2 days, we can see 3 superstars move.
Right.
Like back then, just one superstar moving was such a big deal. But yeah, it's just different now, and like we've all grown. So.
Yeah, it is much different. Like KD going to the Warriors definitely probably softened the blow of LeBron to Miami a bit. Back then, Ray Allen was kind of on his last leg anyways when he left Boston. I don't even think he was starting anymore. I think Avery Bradley had taken the starting spot, and I'm pretty sure that's probably what played into it. But yeah, I was a little bit older than you when that happened. But I told this story a couple of times. I saw Ray Allen in my gym that summer that he left, and that's back when I used to wear headphones like this, but they had like big ass Celtics stuff on them. They had like that Celtics logo right there. Yeah, they had that on the side of the headphones. And so I remember walking up to the water fountain, and as he was getting a drink of water, and I was behind him, and he looked up, and we made eye contact. He sees some Celtics fan headphones, and like for me at the time, like being as young as I was, it was probably super cool to see Ray Allen. But I was like you, I was like on that fuck Ray Allen train, so I didn't say nothing. I didn't ask for an autograph. I didn't like nod up to him or nothing like that. I was like, yeah, keep it moving, G. Yeah, man, that's a hilarious time.
Don was trying to drop 50 on him.
Facts. And it's funnier because...
Did you ever play against him? Like that day?
No, it was that gym did not have like a basketball court. It was actually like a LA Fitness like workout type gym. Yeah, he was working out.
Gotcha.
And it was funnier because that season, like before he left us, obviously, my dad had told me that he comes to that gym sometimes. So for like 3-4 weeks straight, I came in with a Ray Allen jersey for him to sign. I think it was like a Sonics one. That was before he left, and yeah, it was a total switch up after that. So anyways, we are here. That was 9 years ago, so we've been Celtics fans for a minute now. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on Boston this season now? Because everything is switched over. We got two young to-be superstars. If they're not super, I'm assuming nobody's calling them superstars yet, but you know, we got our core right now. Danny Ainge says we're not good enough to win a championship. Everybody's kind of struggling this season, but particularly Boston. What are your thoughts on the Celtics this season, and are you looking for a move right now, or are you just kind of like chilling until things get back to normal?
Honestly, I don't think there's a move right now that'll put us over the top. I think this season is just like a perfect representation of why that Kemba signing was more sus than people gave it credit for at that time. And I was on that bandwagon early on. I was like, yeah, like Kemba's good, and I'm not saying he's gonna make us worse necessarily, but is he really gonna put us over the top? I don't think so. We got these veterans that just left, Tatum and Brown. These guys are the cornerstones of the franchise, so might as well give them the keys as early as possible instead of underdeveloping them. And honestly, we're just so lucky that Tatum and Brown are as good as they are right now. I'm gonna be honest, because like. No one ever expected Tatum to be this good. If everyone remembers, during that draft, it was Josh Jackson that was supposed to be the guy getting paired to Kawhi and Paul George and them. And Jason Tatum is that guy now. Jaylen Brown, again, going into that draft, a lot of people wanted us to draft Chris Dunn, and I still make it a joke to this day. I'm like, yo, yeah, Chris Dunn looking. I'd rather have Jaylen Brown right now than Chris Dunn.
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're lucky that Tatum and Brown, and honestly Smart, is as good as what they are right now. I think honestly it's kind of like when the Celtics were good in the early 2000s, and then like we just turned trash for a little bit. I think we're going into that transition phase, and then hopefully at some point we make another big move to truly compete. But yeah. It's a second round exit.
So you're not facts. So you're not.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. So you're not interested in any move for like Andre Drummond right now, because I feel like I've heard that tossed around a bit, and he's obviously on the move. You're not interested in making a move.
I mean, yeah, Andre Drummond, and especially with the whole Gordon Hayward space that we created, I feel like it'd make us better. But again, to what extent though?
Right.
I don't think is gonna push us over the top or any, like, whatever chance Brooklyn had in beating us before getting Andre Drummond doesn't change after we get Andre Drummond. Same thing with the Bucks, same thing with the Lakers. So I mean, if we can get him for 1-2 years, that's cool. But also with Drummond, I've always been a proponent of just like I get the numbers that Drummond's putting up, but the spacing that a Daniel Tice could provide at the 5, I'd still rather have that than having Andre Drummond on the team.
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel like you. I feel like he doesn't necessarily, would we get a little bit better? Sure, but it doesn't fix the problems that Boston has right now. It doesn't get them from where we are, which is, I mean, we're mediocre for different reasons. We have been missing guys in and out of the lineup. We're missing Marcus Smart right now, which I feel like a lot of people are kind of overlooking. That's a big one. But roster fully healthy, I don't think Drummond takes us from that to championship contender. And then he could just leave this summer too, right? Because he's on an expiring deal. Yeah. So whatever whatever we have to move is probably not worth it. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm looking more towards the future at this point, because I'm just happy that we have these two. A lot of teams don't have two players as good as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and so may not be competitive this year in terms of a championship or even getting out of the East, but when you have those two to build around for the future, you're just kind of like, man, let's just hang on to these guys, build around them, and we'll come back in a couple of years. Plus, in my opinion, it's starting to look like, I mean, even if the Nets don't figure it out this season, like that's probably gonna be they're gonna own the East at bare minimum, I believe. Oh, you know what? I'm not even gonna say nothing. I want to see what you feel about the Nets in their situation right now, because we still have good teams here. We still got Milwaukee, who is probably better than their record is showing. The Sixers, who might have the MVP, which is the Nets' weakest position. So, what are your thoughts on what's going on in the Eastern Conference, and if the Nets can basically, score their way to a championship without having to bolster up their defense that much? Yeah, what do you think?
No, my position on the Nets is, I feel like I had them coming out of the East before the Harden trade.
Ah, okay.
And with the Harden trade, I still do have them coming out the East. The only problem I have with the James Harden trade is, to be quite honest, and again, I still have them making the finals, I don't think it honestly made them better. I'm gonna just say right now, I don't think it, in the grand scheme of things, again, whatever advantages they had over the Lakers, I feel like they already had with Kyrie, KD, and all that depth that they had. Okay. So you add Harden to that team, and again, like he's an incredible talent, but in my opinion, all it did was it improved their strengths and it weakened their weaknesses even more.
Okay.
So they, like, going into the season, their best defender was KD coming off an Achilles tear, and that's honestly still the same thing. Aside from now, it might be Andre Roberson coming off of like 2 years of not playing. So it's gotten to that point where they're relying on players like Andre Roberson, who hasn't played in 2 years, to be very big defensive pieces for them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the Nets, especially compared to where they were 3 years ago with that D-Lo squad, I'm very proud of where they've gone. Getting KD, getting Kyrie, pulling off a big trade like James Harden. But in my opinion, if AD isn't there, my opinion might change. But if AD and LeBron are there, I still have the Lakers over the Nets, at least this year. Maybe they retool over the summer and actually bolster up their defense. But until proven otherwise, that might be a take that'll haunt me in the future. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, just back to your Nets point, they pretty much have erased that whole part of history, because people forget, like, that was a whole joke, what happened with the Boston trade, the whole thing about them being fleeced and all the assets that they gave up for down players that were way over the hill at that point. And they have turned that into the most offensively talented big three. But no, this is why I bring people on the show, because that's a perspective I hadn't really thought about. They did really just maximize the things that they were already great at, because scoring was probably not ever going to be a problem for them regardless before they had Harden. So that's maximized now, especially when you get to the fourth quarter. And I believe they're still probably leading. Those three, I think they were averaging like the most points in the fourth quarter, whatever it is, because they could just take turns going in on people. But the defensive side did get far worse. And I think they're a little bit better than when they made the trade. But as far as it being where it needs to be to play a team like the Lakers in the finals, who knows? They would probably have to be the first team to just straight outscore people. Because, that would be interesting to see Anthony Davis versus, DeAndre Jordan. Or if they play small, because I think small is probably their best bet on defense right now, having Jeff Green anchor it. So that I didn't really have this one written down, but just you being an NBA YouTuber, you have thoughts on. So it seems like you have the Lakers coming out of the West, obviously. So that already kind of answers the question that you don't truly believe in what's going on in Utah right now. But I'm wondering how much you believe in it, at least, because it's obvious you don't have them beating LA. But where do you see this team in terms of like random contenders that have popped up in the past before? Because we've kind of seen this in Utah before. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna steal this from Lo, bro. I ain't gonna lie, cause Lo had a room on Locker Room this morning, and he compared the Jazz to the Pacers when they had Paul George.
Okay.
That was the comparison he made. Like, a very solid team, capable of making a conference finals appearance. They have a star, so it's not like they're the 2015 Hawks, whose best player is like, I don't even, like, Al Horford, Paul Millsap. Like, Donovan Mitchell is above Paul Millsap and Al Horford.
Absolutely.
But then when you compare that team to the Lakers, who have a top 5 player of all time, LeBron, compare that to the Clippers, who has 2-time Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's when it gets a little iffy. But who knows, man? I mean, even back then with the Pacers, the Pacers were able to push the Heat to 7 games and then 6 the year after. So I feel like they are legit. It's just, if I had to put money on it, I'm not putting it on the Jazz, bro. I'm putting it on the team that has LeBron.
Yeah.
I'm putting it on the team that has Kawhi. But
And
I think
everybody
they're a
is.
true team, though. I think they're a true
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, first of all, nobody would in their right mind would bet against LeBron coming off of a championship if that team is healthy against a guy, a team that hadn't been there before. The Jazz have not been there.
Even
That's
if
gonna be a
AD
bright
wasn't there,
stage.
bro, I ain't gonna lie. After 2018, I'm like,
Oh.
yo, I'm not.
Wait, what'd you say? You said if what?
I'm saying even if AD isn't there,
Oh.
just it obviously closing the gap, but just after what I saw from LeBron in 2018, bro, like yo, I'm not betting against that dude, bro. I'm not.
There I would split with you. That's what we'd be betting against each other. We'd have to make that bet because
I might lose money. I might lose money, but
yeah, I would have to take Utah then. But no, I definitely agree with you because the Hawks thing keeps coming up on this podcast because I'm sure you've seen that on NBA Twitter by now. People calling them the Atlanta Hawks. I think anyone making that comparison probably wasn't around to watch the Hawks because throughout that season, like it wasn't like it is right now with Utah. Like a lot of people look at Utah and it's like, man, this is a good team. This team can make some noise. We all looked at the Hawks in 2015. I don't know how. I don't really know your experience with it, but I feel like a lot of us were kind of looking at this like frauds, basically, because they didn't have the All NBA. They didn't have the MVP guy.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have any of that. But the Pacers comparison now that's a pretty decent one. I hadn't thought about that one at all. Obviously, maybe not in terms of style, but in terms of similarities in the situation. I actually do like that one.
shout out to Low. That isn't me, by the way. Shout out.
We'll have Low on the podcast sooner than later. So I do, because this is a question on here, and I want to kind of transition to this. Why don't you think Donovan Mitchell is really that prominent in the MVP race right now, despite the best player on the best team normally getting that advantage, or the most visible, I would say, because there's an argument right now of who's the best player, between Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell's impact might be a bit more visible to people. That's what people see in the highlights. So why don't you think he's getting as much MVP love despite this crazy pace they're on and maybe even being first in the West, but he's probably like 6th or 7th in the race, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just don't think his stats are there. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Like, again, throughout history, it's always been the best player on the best team, puts up great stats, and Donovan Mitchell is doing that. But just historically, how the award has gone as well, like they'll prefer a dude that might not have as good as a record as the Jazz, but he's putting up crazier numbers. Like even in 2017, again, like a lot of people bring up like why isn't Kawhi the MVP when he's putting up great numbers, but it was between Russ and James Harden, and that's when narratives do come into play. But yeah, I feel like even with saying that though, like the fact that the Jazz are getting compared to the Hawks is honestly, it really is disrespectful to D Mitch, because it's not like D Mitch is this player that just he's considered the best player of the team, and he's like not, I don't even know if this is a good comparison, but like Steve Nash, where he's putting up like 14 points a game, 15 points a game, and getting all this credit. Like we just saw D Mitch last year against the Jazz average like 30 a game on like 50-50, 90 splits. The year before that, I think they got eliminated by the Rockets in the first round, but his rookie year, when he went up against the Thunder, he outplayed Russell Westbrook and Paul George as a rookie.
I remember.
As an underdog, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like Donovan Mitchell is just like this random rookie, like or random young player. Like Donovan Mitchell has put up the stats, and I feel like he can put up better stats. It's one of those situations where Donovan Mitchell is putting team success over his own statistical success. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because I just did an MVP video, and that's kind of what I mentioned. I was saying like the circumstance of the team, because the Jazz are very team basketball oriented right now. They got a lot going on there that's not just Donovan Mitchell or just Rudy Gobert. So there's that, and the fact that the stats, because while they're good stats, this is one of the craziest MVP races I've seen so far. It's been a while. Like right now, I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they were saying like there's like 7 or 8 legitimate MVP candidates. Of course, as the year goes on, it's gonna narrow, but you got guys putting up crazier numbers and crazier situations. And
7 or 8 though?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, not 7 or 8 in terms of like it's a 7 or 8 man race, because legitimately, when you get down to a guy like Kevin Durant, he's not winning MVP with a
Okay.
James Harden and a Kyrie
Yeah.
next to him. It's not gonna happen. But his name comes up. The Jokic one is interesting to me. The Jokic one is interesting to me because they're playing around 7th or 8th seed, but he continues to be kind of up there. His name continues to be mentioned. Steph Curry is mentioned right now, but obviously at an 8th seed, he's not going to be winning it. So that's what I mean when I'm saying the race is that large. But I'd like to know what you think about the race and like who you have as a current MVP, because it sounds like your field is a bit narrower and you're only looking at probably very serious names.
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, this year's MVP race is it is weird. It is weird. It doesn't follow like the typical criteria. And I pretty much talk about this every year, like the whole criteria of historically of what it takes to win the MVP. But specifically this year, it's just weird. The only true MVP candidate that fits the traditional criteria, and I think this is why he's up there, is Joel Embiid. Like, they have the best record in the East. He's putting up tremendous numbers, and that's why he's up there. But I don't know, like the conversations with Jokic and Embiid, I feel like, again, if you look individually, I think Jokic is one, a better player, and two, he's putting up better stats. But there's a lot of Embiid love, and I get it. Like, he's having a tremendous season, but I don't know. I agree with you. It is very weird as well. Like LeBron's name gets brought up a lot, and then I just ask myself, I'm like, what is his case though? Like, it's not like they have the best record in the league. The AD injury just happened a couple games ago, and these talks have been going on for throughout the whole season. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, I think the media is just having trouble picking. I'm not gonna lie. So they're just throwing out whoever at this point.
Right. So in your opinion, it's because of the criteria, you think it's Embiid leading right now?
Yeah, I would lean towards Embiid.
Right.
And then Jokic, just because of how good his numbers are. But
yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting because like on the power rankings, I am seeing it. Just talking about LeBron, I'm seeing it more and more. Like they have him number one. It seems like he is, despite maybe not having the traditional argument that Embiid probably has at the moment. The last ones I've seen, they've had him leading it, and I think it has a lot to do with the narrative is helping. He's playing great, obviously, and we're completely spoiled by his play at this point. But the narrative is going strong too, being the age he is. It seems like he's gonna get at least one MVP sooner or later, based off of the fact that he's putting up the greatest production at age 36, and then it'll be age 37 probably. It seems like he has one of those coming. I think it'll probably also depend on what goes on here without Anthony Davis, because a month is a pretty significant time, and nobody knows what the schedule looks like, because I don't think they've really planned past March right now. I mean, it's just going to come down to basically some circumstances, I think, like where, because those seem to be the three that you were naming, was Braun, Jokic, and Embiid. So for Jokic, how high can he actually get his team? Because it's getting to a point where if you're not inside the top three right now, you might not get inside the top three. It's looking like with the standings. With Embiid, maybe how many games he misses, because that is a thing. He'll be out every once in a while. And then LeBron, how many, what they're able to do without Anthony Davis for this next month, because we don't know what the rest of the schedule looks like going into March just yet, because nobody has scheduled games. But if they put up a subpar 500 record, then all of a sudden I think his case might not be as strong. So I think that's kind of what's going on there. I'm not sure if there's a clear leader in the MVP race at the moment. I don't think Doncic is gonna sneak his way back in. I think they were way too far out.
Sadly,
yeah.
Everyone was on that Luka. I was on it as well. I'm like, yo, after the playoffs last year is Luka's year.
It was fair, man. It was fair. Like the numbers he was putting up, and I mean Dallas kind of got ravaged by COVID as well. So it is what it is. It's just circumstance. But yeah, that's basically what's going on. So you got Embiid MVP at the moment. Looks like you were gonna go with the Lakers as repeat champs. They got a lot better, so that's totally reasonable. And Boston as a second round exit. I think that about covers things.
But honestly, going back to the Lakers real quick, I do have them winning the championship. But I do want to give some credit to the Clippers, because I know they're like a meme at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. And again, it might just be me being delusional, but I feel like if the Lakers and the Clippers matched up specifically, like the Clippers would take that series way more seriously than the Clippers Nuggets series. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so they might not be, especially with the mistakes that they made last year. I don't think they'll be as careless as they were with the Nuggets.
Right.
So if those two matched up, I still give the Clippers a chance. I also think the Clippers are better this year, and especially again with the AD injury being an iffy situation, the Clippers still might have a chance. But as of right now, I'm going with the Lakers to come out the West and repeat.
Yeah, the Clippers thing is interesting because they have gotten better. Paul George is back playing some of the best basketball of his career. Kawhi is right up there with that. But those are things that all more or less fly under the radar because the collapse was so epic last year, given the circumstance, given the fact that they were supposed to give us the Battle of LA. That did not happen. So do you think we're going to be getting the Battle of LA this year, or you think you think the Clippers will croak before? As a matter of fact, the way the standings are right now, that might become difficult, isn't it? Because,
well, I think standings wise, if I were to bet on it, the Lakers and the Clippers do end up 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So they would meet in the second round. So in terms of the chance of that happening, it might not be the big grand Western Conference Finals bout that we expected.
Yeah.
But I do think that series will happen.
Right.
And that's gonna be must-watch basketball, bro.
Man, I hate that would happen in the second round because like the big thing would be Kawhi and LeBron again, finally get that, and then these two LA teams. But it's supposed to be, one of them going to the finals after that. Like having one of them go out in the second round automatically puts them as one of the bigger disappointments. But I don't know, it feels like that feels a lot like I would say like Clippers Spurs from 2015, I guess. Two amazing rosters like that were maybe even finals worthy, and they met. Jesus, was that the first round? Do you remember in 2015? Those Clippers Spurs,
yeah, first round.
Jesus, that is a crime.
I remember because Game 7 was the night of the Pacquiao Mayweather fight, and it was the last possession. The Clippers had the ball for the last possession, and we were watching the undercards for the Mayweather fight. My friend turned the channel to the undercard fights during timeout. So we watched the undercard fight until the round ended, switched back to the Clippers camp, and we just see everyone going wild. They're like, oh. So I specifically missed the Chris Paul shot, and I still hold that grudge to my friend till this day. I'm like, bro, you really switched the game to watch the undercard fight of Mayweather Pacquiao, which in itself was a disappointing fight.
Right. That's wild. Hey, but you know what? At least you said you hold a grudge on that one, but at least I guess that was probably for you made up for by the fact that you got to see Lillard's game winner, which I didn't, because I saw that on your story. You still have that one as a memory of watching that one. That was like I think I was in the process of moving that series, and that was Blazers Thunder, and I figured like, nothing interesting is gonna happen this game or whatever, and I was like dead tired that night, so I woke up after it was on. I saw Twitter going crazy, and I'm never gonna forgive myself for missing that one. But win some, lose some, right? Win some, lose some. I got to see Kyrie shot in 2016. I've seen most of history. So that's that Chris Paul shot. I guess we can go in transition because that Chris Paul shot happened in 2015. That was before you were actually on YouTube. So I guess we'll get into a little bit of your YouTube origin story and what made you want to start it. And you kind of touched on it earlier. You were basically saying that you were doing a little bit of editing and you loved basketball. You kind of just put them together. So is that the crux of it? It just kind of like spawned randomly, or was there more to it there?
Yeah. Well, Chris Move honestly got me into 2K, and 2K was a big reason as to why I know like the players that I really shouldn't. Like a casual would only know the stars. Like 2K is the reason I know of like Patrick Beverly when he was on the Heat type shit. Right. But yeah, like I think around there, at least with my experience, there's always a point in every NBA YouTuber's life where they wanted to be Chris Move. Mm-hmm. So I had my go at it back in 2015. Had my career series up, got like 300 views max. Didn't really take off. And then I think this was when Complex News was popping with Complex Sports and stuff. So I was like, all right, let me try being like a solo Complex Sports dude. I even had like the bottom left thing on the thumbnail. So that was when I saw that there was some traction in the field. I remember making like a thumbnail where I had like DeMarcus Cousins trade destinations, and that got like 2,000 views, and I was like, oh, 2,000. Like, oh, whoa, 2,000. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe sport, the actual sports talk is my thing. And then I forgot which video it was, but there was just one video that blew up, and the snowball kicked off from there. But honestly, in terms of the video essay videos, you were one of the people that I watched.
Oh, really?
I think you made the times LeBron proved his doubters wrong or something.
Legacy, the legacy video. That's what everyone told me,
That's what I noticed as well, bro. But yeah, like that video, Corzemba's What If videos, Nick Smith as well. Shout out to Nick Smith, Australian legend. You know what I'm saying? Like his videos put me on as well. And then when I started, this was like I signed with Playmakers, and they had this dashboard thing where you can look for people to collab with, which honestly no one uses. But the one time I tried, I found SDC. So I had like 5K subscribers. SDC had like 3K. We started, we tried to collab, and then we had the podcast, found low, and then it just, went from there. It just went from there.
When you said you saw me get into video essays, that kind of sparked you a little bit. When you found because that was literally my first video that hit ever. That's what started everything here today. When you found that, were you like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude's voice? Back in the early days.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I was like, yo, he has a really unique voice. And then I started to record myself, and I'm like, yo, I really have a squeaky ass voice. So I was like, you know what? If Dom could do it, let's see if I can do it.
Yeah. To this day, I can't figure out, like, that's one of the things I'm thankful for. Like, cause I don't know what you started on, but I started recording on a Turtle Beach headset. Literally, that's part of the reason it sounded like that. It was made for like PlayStation 3 and shit. Like, so I was recording full videos that hundreds of thousands of people were watching with that microphone. And to this day, I have no clue how people heard the audio and that shit. And we're like, yeah, I want to subscribe to this guy. I want to hear more of him. I don't know how that happened. So whatever. somebody was on my side. What did you start recording with, and what was your tech like? Did you just throw some shit together and just start going, or were you already kind of well set up? Because I just had that Dell laptop in Turtle Beach, and that was it for a while.
I think it was sophomore year of high school where I truly started to make an effort to research on what I had to do and stuff like that to succeed on YouTube. And I built up like Christmas money from the 2 Christmases before. Us being an immigrant family, I honestly don't have much birthday money. Like, I know my friends get like $500 on the birthday. I'm like, what? I get like 50.
What kind of friends you got? $500 on the birthday.
Just the popular kids at school just flexing their Christmas money and like birthday money.
Right.
All right,
yeah.
You got a new Gucci belt, okay. I got a gift card. But yeah, like sophomore year, I saved up $250 in Christmas money from the past couple of years, and I literally told my mom, I'm like, Mom, if you could split this PC with me that I'll use for schoolwork, that'd be great.
For schoolwork.
I was like, yeah, because I can't go on Google Drive with the laptop I have right now, Mom. It's not gonna work. Finesse. So that was also when I got into PC building, because I knew I had a budget to work with, and then I found out PC building was like the best budget, best bang for your buck type of deal. So I got into PC building at around the same time, built my PC for like $500, and I wanted to do 2K content, and this was a big deal for me when 2K announced that 2K PC was gonna get like PS4 graphics. So that was like the perfect timing for me. There was like a 2-week stretch where I didn't have a Xbox 360 dongle, so I couldn't use my 360 control on the PC. So I was playing 2K with a keyboard and mouse for like 2 weeks, bro.
Were you seriously trying to do it, or you were just for shits and giggles.
I ordered the dongle, so I was so excited to play the new 2K.
Oh my god.
So I was like, all right, let me try to play 2K with keyboard and mouse. It didn't work, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because 2K has a message when you try that, like when you don't have a controller plugged in. They're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Like that's literally that message that pops up.
And I was like, "Yeah." Like I really just want to see the new graphics and shit.
Yeah, I to this day have not tried that. I don't know how that would go. That's hilarious.
Don't.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But yeah, so I was just honestly just trying to figure out the best bang for the buck on how I can make content, play 2K, and get schoolwork done. So the gaming PC was the best way to that. But in terms of recording software, I made a video about it on my Instagram. Like I literally use a LG G3, the mic on that. Put it. I think I still have the pencil case in my room. Like use that as a stand. So it was like. So let's say this was a cup. I had it like this, and I made a pop filter out of a metal hanger. Like I literally like took it apart, made a circle out of it, put a clean top on it, made a pop filter, mounted that on the pencil case, and that was my mic setup. So when people ask me like what equipment should I use, I always tell them that story. And with what you just said, like you recorded a video that has 1 million views now, or damn near close to it if it isn't, on Turtle Beach headsets.
Yeah.
So it's stories like that. I'm like, yo, there really is no excuse at this point. Facts. If my 15-year-old ass could do that with like Christmas money built up from 3 years, I mean, if you want to do it, you know, you just gotta go out and do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell people. I guess it's a good moment. Like, you don't have to worry about being perfect, because it's easy to look at, you know, people you aspire to and like, oh, their content is like this and it's all crisp and whatnot, and try to, you know, maybe feel like I don't want to start editing until I can get something close to this. Like that's absolutely not the way to approach it, because the people that you're aspiring to probably started off in your case from the gutter, because the way you just were describing that the pop shield, that's some Stephen A. Smith shit, man. So I came from the gutter. But yeah, nah, you don't have to worry about saving up $1,000 to go get. You just start with whatever you have. I started on Windows Movie Maker. I don't know if you ever mess with that, but yeah, you can't do anything on Windows Movie Maker damn near except clip stuff. But yeah, that's where I was at the time. I am interested. You said because you had to basically make up the excuse of schoolwork from your mom to help you with that. Did she know what else you were into though? Did she know that you were working on this, or when did your parents find that out? Because I'm pretty sure that was a big deal for them to, you know, figure out you've made a successful work on the internet basically.
Well, honestly, I was that weirdo that would like play 2K and just pretend I was Chris Smooth without an Elgato. So like I was in my room and they would hear me like screaming my ass off and making all these, oh, that's a smooth move type of comments. And they was just like, all right, it's just Brian doing his thing. And then I think at some point I hit him up with I just hit him with a discussion. I'm like, Mom, NBA Playmakers hit me up, so it's getting official.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So once we had that conversation, we set everything up. And they just told me again, it was, you know, you're still in high school. This is not sustainable whatsoever. I mean, even to this day, at least to me, it's not sustainable just yet. I'm getting there. But they just said, you know, treat it as a hobby, do it for fun, and just go from there. And honestly, that's looking back, and I honestly didn't even realize this till now. I think that's really good advice. The fact that they encouraged me to just do it for fun instead of doing it for the money, which has helped me along the way. And then once, you know, I got more experience on, you know, just making good content, that's when the money business came into play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really good advice from them, because we'll probably get into that more in another section, but that's a big part of being a YouTuber is, you know, keeping the same passion that you started with. Because I'm sure for you, when you started to actually gain some traction, I mean, I guess I should probably ask about that process. What was that like? Because for me, after that LeBron video and I realized like I was getting I don't know if it happened the same way for you, but from that video, I was getting like a crazy streamline of subs, and all my videos after that were doing way better than before. So I realized like, oh shit, people are actually watching now, and I couldn't sleep anymore at that time because it was that energetic. It was like something I had been working on for years already, and so when people are watching, I'm like, damn, like I was just always on 100. So yeah, what if I don't know if that happened the same way for you, but was there a moment like that where you're like, oh, people are actually messing with this now? It's not just 2,000 views is my big day. Like people are actually here. What was that like for you when people actually started to come in? Was it really gradual so that didn't happen, or what was that like?
Honestly, everything came pretty fast. Like the growth from like 5,000 subs to 100k subs felt like a blur at this point. Like I don't remember when I specifically had 60k. It just kind of like boom, I'm at 100k. Next thing I know. But it was just crazy, and it still is to this day, because I specifically remember at one point saying that I just wanted to make a community of like 20,000 subscribers max to talk basketball with, and it's grown to so much more than that. Yeah, to the point where I'm talking with other creators myself, going through other ventures. But yeah, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was anything gradual. I mean, obviously gradual in the sense of like it didn't happen in like 2 months, but it was just like I was going to school, come home, make videos, and honestly it was just cool to flex. I'm not gonna lie, at school I'm like, yo, I'm saying check out my YouTube, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were in high school when this happened for you too. I keep thinking I wasn't in high school. Yes. Yeah, but I would have probably been a demon if I was like much younger.
I'm gonna say, yeah, it was just funny going into rooms with like the cool kids, and they were acting like popular and shit, and I just be in the back. I'm like, are y'all really popular?
Like they don't even know. I got 50k on YouTube. Nigga.
Oh, there's levels to these bezels, but I stayed humble though. For the people in high school that knew me. Like I never tried to flex it out loud. It'd be my other friends that'd be like, yo, follow him on YouTube. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, same way, yeah.
I got math in first period. I got homework to do right now before the bell rings. Like, yo, relax, dude. Relax.
Man, I was at a party once, and one of my buddies was faded, and he tried to tell some girl about that. I was like, nigga, shut up. Like he was faded. He was like, yo, this is DomCast. I'm like, nigga, fuck up, nigga. Like, relax. We don't bring that out here. Like,
yo, hey, I had a similar story. Me and my friend went to a college party freshman year at his school, and he just apparently there's this one dude. He didn't even like introduce me. He just recognized me. I'm like, yo, is that Ft.Bsolz? And I was like, yeah. And then he just showed me to the whole like fraternity or whatever it was. I was like, oh my god, he has 100k subs. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, and then they just kept feeding me alcohol. I'm like, yo, relax, dude.
Hey, chill. That is so funny. So had you that's a good one. Have you been recognized in real life outside of that? Because that sounds like one story. Have you ever just like somebody's like, oh shit, it's Ft.Bsolz?
Me and my girl went to a Red Sox game last year, and I think I tweeted out a picture of it because like it was a sunset and it was just crispy ass picture for the gram type shit. And then someone was like, yo, where you at? Like what section you're at? And I honestly just said, I'm like, I'm around here. So he straight up went to my section and saw me and like reached out to my row and be like, yo, can I take a picture with that dude real quick? And like the whole like section didn't know who I was. So I told them, excuse me, I gotta take a picture with my fan over here real quick. So we took the selfie and it was all cool, you know what I'm saying? I love like when people recognize, because like it just seems so surreal. I'm like, bro, who? I'm really like, to me, I'm like, I'm no one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to be recognized at a Red Sox game, that was really cool. So I go back to my section, and now the people in my section start asking, I'm like, yo, what do you do? And it's just like I make videos about basketball, and they're like, oh, so you make videos about the Celtics? So I'm like, yeah. I love how they just assume I'm just a Celtics journalist. I said, I'm like, bro, no, it's not just the Celtics, but sure, like just to end this conversation, yes, I make videos about the Celtics.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I don't know how you handle it, but I've never the times I've been noticing in real life, everyone's been mad cool. I never ran into no weirdo shit. But I'm not great at taking compliments like to face. You know what I mean? Like I just try to keep it low key and stay humble. So it gets a bit awkward when you get personal. I appreciate the praise and the love and all that, but it gets a little bit awkward. But yeah, it is funny because I don't know. It's hard to, like you said, the people around the section, start asking what you do and whatnot, and it's kind of hard to tell someone like, oh yeah, you make basketball videos and NBA videos, because as soon as someone is not into the NBA, it's kind of like dead for them right there. It's where if you were making videos about something that people could actually just a person in general could get into, it would be probably conversation could probably go other places. But yeah, that's some of the things that I've kind of thought about whenever I ran into those situations. So yeah, this is moving on to, we started basically around the same time. This is probably moving on to year like 5 or 6 for you on YouTube, I'm guessing. And what has it been like for you in terms of successes and failures? Because you've obviously dealt with a lot of the same things that I have with copyright and not knowing one day if you can use footage and then the next if you're gonna be okay or not. I'm sure you've gone through the same thing, the fluctuations of getting tons of views for like 1 or 2 months and then not getting as many, and then maybe starting to feel a little bit constrained because you're like, well, what can I actually make that is just it's just gonna stay consistent. Just anything you can contribute to the successes and failures that you've had over the last 4 or 5 years. What has this been like for you?
Copyright was a big one. Every year when that time comes around, the whole NBA community just gets together. We just start DMing everyone like, yo, did you get claims? So yeah, that's always been like one of the biggest problems for me. But aside from that, I think after I hit 100K, I think this was going into my freshman year of college, I just felt like I couldn't get out of 100K for the longest. And I just felt like a fraud at some point. I'm telling people I have 100K subs, but I'm not pulling like 100K sub performance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does.
So yeah, it was just getting out of that plateau, and it was getting to a point where I would look up how to get out of a YouTube plateau, but I would realize, I'm like, yo, there's not really a lot of people that are in my position.
Yeah.
So it like that type of shit was a situation where I had to just figure it out myself. Analyze certain situations myself, but also going into college, because I had a roommate, and we were forced to have a roommate. I had a podcast back then. It was the Dish Podcast. I had to end that because I just couldn't. I felt so bad to my roommate because it wasn't like we had our own single bedroom. We were in like our own little cubicle thing. Like it was a fucking jail.
Yeah, I remember.
So I had to cut that. And just college in general was just it was my first time being free myself, like being independent, not relying on my parents, having to live with someone. It was a whole new experience to me. So there was at a certain point where I honestly felt like I just made videos to reach a certain amount of revenue a month because it's the only job I have bills to pay. But I think end of 2019, early 2020, that's when I realized, I'm like, all right, let me give this a full shot. I have something that a lot of people would do a lot to have. So let me take full advantage of it. Let's try to go crazy. And 2020 was a really good year for me. My main goal is just I want to make content full time. So 2020, with the revenue I made, the moves I made, putting my personality out there, that was a big step for me. And 2021 so far has been really good as well.
Right.
In that process.
So your current goal basically right now is to just, because how many years left you have of college? Is this your last, or I don't even know where you at?
After this semester I have 2, so technically 3 semesters left.
Okay, yeah. So you still got plenty of time in college, and that's good. So your current goal is, like you said, basically just to be able to make it sustainable, I guess, by the time you're out. By the time you graduated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm honestly, I was looking a lot into like internships regarding my major, but with the stuff I've been doing, with my own channel, stuff behind the scenes, certain sponsorships, I'm like, the money I could be making out of college is equivalent to a high-paying entry-level job, except with this job, Like I can work whenever I want to do like what I truly love. But yeah, it's definitely a hard decision in the sense that like if I get a traditional entry level job, I have a certain salary that's guaranteed. There's benefits to it like health insurance, stuff like that you just don't get as a YouTuber, as a freelancer. So it's a risk. And like my parents have been like not pushing me away, but they've just been like, know the risks that come with it. And you know, if shit hits the fan, I told you so type shit. So yeah, it's just, you know, just making it sustainable, not relying on just the Ft.Bsolz YouTube channel, working on podcast things, working with Agent and Low. Shout out to Agent and Low. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that we've, you know, watching you go through this process is pretty cool because I see now you've also, like you just said, expanding to other things. You've got your Keep It a Buck podcast where you've interviewed plenty of people. I was on there. You're working with Locker Room, same as I am now. So you even stream a bit sometimes too. I don't know, do you stream frequently on Twitch, or is it just kind of like a every now and then thing?
Honestly, I tried when the PS5 came out and Next Gen came out. I was like, all right, this is my year on 2K. You know what I'm saying? Now I can really be the Chris Smooth I wanted to be. and then 2K21 Next Gen is just,
yeah.
It's like I tried Park, AIDS, my team. There's such a big paywall just to, you know, get into my team. At least
Absolutely.
To me, I can't get into my team. Yeah, just 2K to me right now is stale in general. But
yeah, no.
with streaming is mostly just been the Let's Keep It a Buck podcast. So.
Yeah, no, I would agree about 2K. It's, you know, I would say it's fun, obviously, if you have people. So me and the homies will hop on. Like, if you have a squad to play rec with, then that's cool. Because, you know, you and the friends can make it fun together. But they've kind of fallen into the same problem of changing the game just too much and listening to too many different opinions. Like, I felt like one-on-one, just playing other people online was fun when it came out. And I just got on like 2 weeks ago for the first time in a while, and it's like completely different because they've updated all this, you know, shot success and how the game feels. It's, you know, the same, pretty much a 2K cycle. This is what happens every year. But what I was saying before we got on that is, yeah, I'm watching you go through pretty much a lot of the same processes that I have. I am curious about like what it's been like to balance this with college, because I did that. If it was 2016, I had 16, last half of 16, so 17, 18. Yeah, so it was about 2.5 years I had to balance this with college, and that was interesting. But I am wondering how that's going with you in terms of balancing it with, you know, social life, balancing it with the college work. And I don't know if you live on campus or how any of that works, but yeah, how is that working out for you? How has that been working out for you?
Yeah, so the first 2 years, like I said, that was when I felt like I had a plateau on YouTube, and that was primarily due to me prioritizing the social life in college, the academics as well. That's a part of why I feel like I stagnated on YouTube. But starting end of sophomore year, this junior year, I've just been on my shit, like in terms of time management. Like I have so many systems in play, so many apps I use just to stay on top of things. And it's honestly just it. If you want to make YouTube work, again, like college has truly taught me, like if you want to make YouTube work, you're gonna make it work.
Yeah, facts.
It's just like if I can do this as a computer engineering major, like it's not even like an easy major, like with all due respect to art majors, you know what I'm saying? But like if I can do this, write code, you know what I'm saying, do all of this crazy ass math, and then make time to make videos. It's definitely easier right now since I live off campus and have this house. But if I could do that as well, freshman year, when, you know, just the college life in general was something I was getting adjusted to. I had a roommate that I would literally record and wait until he went into the dining hall so I could just have the room to myself and record. Like that was the type of links I would go to get videos out. Like it just taught me, like if you really want to do it, man, you'll make it work. You'll make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I pretty much, for me, you know, you got to start college with it because you were coming out of high school, so you had some, I guess, a little bit of experience, you know, trying to manage it with, you know, time management and other things. I hit like in the middle of college, middle towards the end, so I kind of had to like bring this crazy ass process into the middle of everything else that was already going on. But you know, you're right about the lengths, because I would do the same thing. I used to make sure, especially when I started, like the one thing that happened, I was like, yo, whatever happens in this next 2 years while I'm here, I'm not gonna lose this. Like, this is not going anywhere, because this is called a platform. Everybody don't get this, no matter how hard they try. Like, I guess, you know, because of the people in our circle, it might seem normal to us. We have Low in our circle and Agent, all these people who've been successful at it, so it seems like platforms are just everywhere, and everybody has access, you know, with their phones and whatnot, but it's hard to get and it's still hard to keep. And so when that happened in college, I was like, nah, this shit is staying. And so I would do the same thing, you know, you wait for your friend to go to the dining hall. I would go into like the empty buildings at night, because I lived on campus, so I would go to the empty buildings at night and then find like an open classroom and record back then, because like, when you have the roommates, that was the part I was scared shitless about from coming back from the summer, because I hid in the summer, and I was like, man, how's this gonna work when I have 3 or 4 roommates and this place is not that big? So yeah, man, just you know, if you wanna make it work, you will make it work. And my major was, I get what you're saying about the majors. My major was not like yours. Like, I had a computer engineering friend, so I saw the stuff that y'all were doing. So that's what's been crazy to me, is that you're making this work with an entire, that's probably pretty rigorous, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I not that I'm flexing or anything. I'm proud of myself that my grades aren't like all D's and C's. Like, they're, you know what I'm saying, like B minuses, B's, little A minus here and there, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's honestly, aside from hitting 100K, that's honestly the one thing I'm very proud of with managing, just being a content creator. It's just like how much I've managed so much shit, especially now. Like, I still have schoolwork, but now there's locker room. I still have my own channel. I have the podcast as well. I'm doing stuff with Agent and Low. So again, like, I'm just here to prove the point that, like, if you really want to do the shit, you have the same 24 hours in a day that I have, the same 7 days in a week that I have, the same amount of days in the year that I have, and it's just honestly just up to you to you know, make the time and put in that work.
Yeah, no, I commend you for that, because your process is even crazier than mine was. Like, when I was there, I wasn't trying to expand like you are, because you've done this in college. You brought the podcast and locker room and, you know, streaming the podcast. You brought that all out while you're still doing computer science and whatnot. I was starting to, before I really tried to make like a second channel, I kind of got into my senior year where senioritis was hitting, and I realized I was graduating. And I don't know how senior year worked for you in high school, but just when senioritis hits, you just kind of like looking at, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so it kind of allows you to relax a bit. But yeah, man, yeah, no, shout out to you for being able to keep up with that, because it sounds at least 2 times more rigorous than what I had to put up with.
Appreciate it.
The
high school senioritis thing, though, just to hit on it.
Yeah,
like, I got lazy in terms of schoolwork, but the free time that I gained from being lazy on schoolwork, I just spent it on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah,
no, that worked out probably perfectly for you. I didn't have YouTube yet, so my senioritis said I was just playing 2K, which I guess, you know, probably helped a little bit. But yeah, that extra time, I had early release, so I was fucking 2K13 up back in the day. I was on that game heavy. But to wrap this up, I don't know, when I bring guests on, I might just bring this question on frequently, because it's a funny one to discuss. It's totally off the wall, but I did see it a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. I wanted your opinion on teams fouling when they're up by 3 points, because I feel like that's kind of a funny topic, and sometimes you know, I've only seen it happen 2 times where they happen really close together this season, and so I started to get worried, like, damn, is this how we're gonna finish the end of games from now on? Are we not gonna get to see we're not going to hear Mike Breen's bangs anymore? So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on it, though. If your team is up 3, you letting somebody get that shot, or are you a proponent of foul them and let's go ahead and heat up the buses?
Me personally, just being a fan of great basketball, I would let the other team take the shot. You know what I'm saying? Just bring that you know, intensity to the game, that suspense to the game. But if I was in their shoes and I'm getting paid to win games, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna get blasted on Twitter if I lose this game.
Facts.
I would personally foul them.
Right.
I'm gonna just say that right now. I'd personally foul the other team, make the right basketball play, since everyone, you know, wants to make the right basketball play. So.
Yeah,
I'd foul. I'd foul.
Yeah, when I saw them really close together, I was wondering like, man, why don't we see this more? Because technically, like, things have to go pretty wrong for that strategy to mess up. Like, you had to foul them, and it got ambiguous as to whether he was already in the shot motion or not. You know, things that don't really happen a whole lot. So I was like, man, why don't we really see this? I guess maybe there is an unspoken rule in the NBA, like, you know, don't be a bitch. Just let me shoot my three, and if I hit it, I hit it. I don't know. But anyways, man, this has been fire. Thank you for coming on. I had a good time on your podcast, and I had a good time having you on this one. Yeah, good luck keeping this up with the next 2 years of college, and yeah, man, this has been dope.
Appreciate you having me on, man. See you on Locker Room.
Yeah, all the links to facts. All the links to our social media and whatnot are in the comment section and description for y'all. iTunes, Spotify, and if you don't know about Locker Room, I guess maybe we could throw a little small tidbit in here because I tried to mention it on this channel once. Yeah, Locker Room is basically it's like Clubhouse but for sports. So I'm on
better.
there. Yeah, and better. Ft.Bsolz. I didn't want to throw that. I was gonna throw you that alley. I'm gonna let him say it's better. But it is a good time. I'm in Ft.Bsolz room sometimes. Sometimes he comes into mine. Lo just joined. Was this his first room a couple of days ago? Was that his first?
Yeah,
room?
Last night was his first room. He had another one this morning.
Yeah. So Lo just hopped in. It seems like we're getting some good names on there, and you can actually talk to us, can ask us questions, and we debate a bunch of different topics. And it's definitely fun when all of us get together. So if you are on Apple. Yeah, because it's not on Android yet. I don't know when that's going to happen. But if you have iOS, you can download that, hop in our rooms, and yeah, it'll be a good time. All right, well, I will see y'all on the next one. I appreciate y'all for watching.